Mm. Okay, so I'm kind of just making this again because, yeah, I forgot to say again, that, um, yeah, I'll mention too because I had said in my last video about my, maybe TMI, but I think it's helpful because this is kind of what I've kind of been dealing with all day. And sometimes to talk without kind of acknowledging what is basically, it's like, when you have a song and you have the bass that's kind of like is like the thing that kind of brings everything together in a really subtle way. You know, my body, the way it functions, it's kind of something that brings a lot of things together in a very subtle way, and that I don't always acknowledge it because it's always there. So, today, I'll start by saying today in class was difficult. It is hard to dance while I'm on my period, okay? It's hard because I don't have as much energy, and then if I'm also tired, it's like twice the level of low energy. So I'm figuring that out. I have to figure that out. And as I get older, it's always been difficult, but I think it probably becomes more difficult. And then also I become more aware of the impact on, you know, the shedding of my endometrial lining. I think is that right? Yeah, and the releasing of eggs. Biology. Okay, so basically, Um, I'll start by saying that I actually wanted to make this video today because I had a bad rehearsal today, and that I was told by someone, I'll just say it that way, because I recovered from cutting myself on some glass that was sticking out of a trash bag in my room that I didn't throw out in time enough, but walked by, and I actually think it's kind of like deeply spiritually the representative of a max capacity that I have inside, and I hit my max capacity within the matrix that I exist in, the generational matrix, or it could have been self-sabotage relative to that as well, or it could have been random. So I kind of thought of what's happening here, but also took time, but I got better, several months, and I got better. And basically, I'm still kind of weak though, where I have struggled with releves. I have a lot of things to learn, and I was told that they don't think I'm ready. They don't think I will be ready. And I don't know if I will be ready, at this rate, But I do want to be ready, and so I just want to say this that so that that can happen. So that I can say something out in the ether and put it out in the ether so that I can, as I'm making a schedule of things to do, um, do it. And sometimes I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that, but no, I think I want to do it so that I can say, this is what I'm doing so that this can get done. Okay? So that's the first thing I wanted to say, or more like the second thing. Okay. The third thing is that these are random things actually. These are things that I will saw today, and how you just kind of come across things happening. So first, I'll comment on these things very quickly. So there is a music artist that is Nigerian also, and I'm bicultural, as I've said before. So I will carry this heritage, and I'll also carry African American heritage. And I'm kind of figuring out what that has meant. Um, Nobody ever told me the term bicultural. You know, nobody's ever kind of let me know that I have this whole other heritage beyond African American heritage. Even though my mom ate fufu and I didn't like fufu as much, I liked the soup more, which kind of inspires what I'm going to make tonight. But I think in reconnecting, I think it would be nice to kind of try it again, and just to be able to start to really figure out this voice that I carry, this double voice. Um, so this artist made a comment of like immigrants built America, and you know that's kind of funny because before I get to the Black American descendants of slavery in the United States, I'll start from the baseline of what our existence will be. look, growing up, I will think, oh God, Mila Jovovich, or what's the one's name that's married to Ashton Kutcher? Mila Kunis. Could tell they had like faraway looks, right? And I always thought they were pretty girls, but pretty white girls. And Mila Kunis, I think that she is whitish, but she's white enough to be basically white. And excuse me, that was just my leg. Yeah, like, and yeah, and eventually I realized, oh, okay, they have the faraway look because they are coming with heritage from other countries, and they are white girls, basically. Oh, screw them. They have it easier because they're white immigrant girls. So, also, when you talk about immigrants, if you're a black person, you know that your experience is going to be different because you're also being called a nigger. Okay? Okay? And ask me how I know. It took me to the age of 36. So that's also late to the game, okay? People are being called this when they're children. So that would suggest a level of privilege, right? To not have to endure that until I'm 36 years old. Or at least a level of something. I don't know. So there's that. There's that layer of not being true to that statement. Okay, just the fact of not showing that your experience is different from somebody that had access to America as well, because black immigrants didn't have access until after the civil rights movement. And that's literally the last 50 years, okay? That's no time in the United States. Okay? To the point that people are like remorse or kind of are mad that, someone like me would be able to access certain things that people that are descended from American slavery on both sides aren't accessing. Okay? All right. And then, yeah, the idea of the fact that we would build America, not quite. For a Nigerian to build America, not quite. Yeah, there are some immigrant groups that were here. There were the ones that, there were the Chinese that built the railroads, but we'll get to the ones that really built America in just a moment. Okay? I know the Italians, the Irish, they were in the wave of the 19th century, the United States, I think the Ellis Island wave of immigrants. But white immigrants were allowed for a long time. Even Asian immigrants had to try to fight to be called Caucasian, and had quotas, if I recall, in learning history. Or not learning history. I think I just, how you just Google information to just figure out what's happening. But the ones that are still not given credit for literally building the United States, literally building the United States, and so many inventions that still aren't credited today. So much ingenuity. And that's not to take away from the ingenuity of, anybody else. But I am saying that if you really do look for a moment, you really will see something that just gives a lot of pride in seeing the level of ingenuity that American descendants of slavery have exhibited over the course of time. And this ability to recreate and recreate and recreate. It's really, it is really a sense of, it's a really beautiful sight to behold. And yeah, literally built the United States through industry, through picking cotton, through nursing white children, through forced breeding. Okay? With lives lost, strange fruit on trees. I mean, there are stories, so many people have stories that aren't in history that people say, well, this is what happened to this relative, or this ancestor observed this happening. And as effed up as my stuff is, I have one of those stories on this side, you know. And sorry for being like a black mixed person. That shit has to be annoying, right? But basically, um, yeah. So come on. Let's get this right. Okay, there's another thing with a picture that of a little, the little Hispanic boy. I'm so sorry. This is really awful that a little baby is detained, right? Little, very, very, very heart wrenching. Um, and so I really hope that there is a, a positive resolution to this. And also, this little baby was photoshopped by from what I understand, an Arab anti-ICE activist into a photo of Ruby Bridges with federal agents, United States federal agents around her. And it was, this kid was photoshopped in something depicting something from the 1950s. And I actually should be more specific as to what date Ruby Bridges did integrate this school. And I'm not sure if the state or the specific, if it's the 50s or the 60s. But I think if Brown versus Board of Education, I think was in 1954. It would not have been obviously long after that. But that has to be talked about too. Okay. It's a similar thing going on, and this is, yeah. But I don't have the mental. I haven't really had my gears turn for how to really talk about this one, because there are a lot of things going on, and it's just also not acceptable. Okay. The next thing, Fulton County. This is where I grew up, and to see them in the news right now, I have to stay on top of things. I hope you're staying on top of things enough that it's not, destroying your nervous system, right? But I think this has to do with Donald Trump trying to play a part in the midterm elections somehow by messing with voting information. I'm not sure of what's happening specifically, but I do know that I need to read up on this more. So I can only mention it now. I'm sorry that I probably even mentioned it, because I don't really have much to say about it yet. Just that it's just funny to see, because I did grow up in this from age 12 to 17. After my parents separated, this is where we moved with my mom. And and this is one of the ones that's going to require like this healing process. So I thought I'd mention it as well, because it kind of feels like a little full circle. And I'll also say too, look, I'm making these videos, but look, I just got back on the bus before starting to make my dance schedule. I paid $27 today for my bus pass. I came back from the store where I got some kale and chicken. I'll make a stew. Hopefully I can do that tonight after this. And an anti-cancer stew. Anyway, I'm just saying that I'm still getting my life together at this big age, and I hopefully am not I can't pretend, and I have a lot of goals, Act 1 goals, Act 2 goals, health being a very big goal, prevention of sickness. And that's all I want to say. I don't have anything together, and but I do want to share my journey and my goals here. And I don't know if I want to share with you. I don't know if I can say you all the time, because I want to share with myself, and maybe that can reverb out to anybody else, And that's it. Okay. All right, have a good night, and we'll look forward to talking another time. And all right.